A confident person is a better choice than someone with more talent. The latter will constantly question their abilities and defeat themselves even before facing others. The reason I'm doing this episode on self-confidence is simple because I've seen too many people in my life struggle because they believe confidence is something you either when you start taking these small risks that push you beyond your comfort zone. The way you perceive feedback matters. If you take it positively, you start to build confidence. If you take it negatively, you start shrinking and doubting your abilities. Professional athletes are less likely to choke under pressure compared to amateurs. And these four key factors have helped me build confidence in life. And in that moment, all your perception is undone, not by reality, but by self-doubt. Action changes the brain. The brain relies on neuroplasticity. It means the brain changes based on what you do to make stronger connections. So let's imagine you are at a networking event. You've been preparing for weeks, practicing your introduction, fine-tuning your elevator pitch, even rehearsing conversation starters in front of a mirror. You're absolutely ready. But as you step towards someone in the crowd, a little voice creeps in and it says, "What if this conversation goes nowhere? What if I'm wasting their time?" Your confidence wavers now. Instead of introducing yourself, you take a detour to the drinks table, hoping to gather yourself. In that moment, all your preparation is now undone, not by reality, but by self-doubt. And this is how low self-esteem takes root. One hesitation at a time, it convinces you to withdraw from opportunities that could have led you to growth, to success, and meaningful connections. Today, we're diving into the power of self-confidence, a game changer that empowers you to take risks, stand up to challenges, and pursue the life you deserve. And if you stay with me till the end, I promise to share 4 practical tips to help you build confidence and break free from your self-doubt. So let me start with a question. Do you know why professional athletes are less likely to choke under pressure compared to amateurs? And surprisingly, it's not just the mindset. It's a learned skill. Best athletes don't just train on the field. They train their minds off the field too. They visualize different scenarios, adversities, high-stake moments, and also unexpected setbacks. And then they rehearse exactly how they will respond to those scenarios in their mind. What you see on a game day isn't just the raw talent. It's the result of disciplined mental conditioning. They don't spend time worrying about what if we lose or what if the opponent is too strong. Instead, they focus on the strategy to win. Self-confidence isn't about ignoring risk. It's about believing in your ability to navigate them. Confident people approach challenges expecting success, not failure. They recognize the odds may not always be in their favor, but if there's even a single chance to succeed, they want to take it, knowing they're capable of rising to the occasion. The reason I picked this topic on self-confidence today is very simple. I've seen too many people in my life struggle because they believe confidence is something you either have it or you don't. They assume that because they lack certain traits, they're incapable of showing confidence in different areas. Whether it's socializing, standing up to a bully, playing a sport, or speaking in front of a crowd. Whether it's 10 people crowd or 10,000 people crowd. But here's what I always tell them. Confidence is like learning any skill. Take, for example, learning how to swim. At first, we're only comfortable standing by the edge of the pool. Once we learn how to tread water, we start feeling safe in the shallow end. And as our technique improves, we don't just survive in water, we gain the confidence to explore the deep end. Self-confidence works the same way. It's not about being fearless from the start. It's about building trust in yourself, one step at a time, until you are ready to take on the bigger challenges. If you are someone who struggles with confidence in different aspects of your life, I want you to pause for a moment now. Think back to an event that shattered your self-esteem. Maybe it was a moment that left you embarrassed, insulted, or feeling small, whether in front of a crowd or alone. Or maybe it was a harsh comment, a failure, or a voice in your head telling you that, you weren't good enough. And you believed it. Now, imagine that instead of letting that moment define you, you had decided to work on yourself. Imagine if instead of thinking I'm not good enough, you had thought I'm just not ready yet. Picture yourself getting back up, learning, practicing, and growing along the way. Now let's fast forward to today. If you had taken that approach, you might have already overcome those fears and mastered it too. Now, revisit that past situation with your new mindset and ask yourself, knowing what I know now, how would I have responded to that failure differently? Because here's the truth: self confident people don't let failure define them. Instead, they see it as a feedback to grow, a temporary weakness that simply needs more attention. And with practice, they know they won't just improve, they'll become one of the best at it. The importance of self confidence goes beyond just taking action with certainty. It directly impacts your mental health as well. People who struggle with self confidence often experience higher stress levels and lower life satisfaction. Now, this is because they focus so much on the fear of failure that they start living in the false reality of a negative outcome before it even happens. And when this happens, it changes something in our brain. The brain shifts from problem solving mode to a survival mode. Instead of looking for solutions, it prepares for a perceived threat. When we stress, the brain interprets it as an existential risk, triggering the release of stress hormones like cortisol and activating the fight or flight response. In this state, the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for learning and memory, it becomes impaired, limiting your ability to think clearly and retain any information. And if you stress constantly, this can lead to the shrinkage of your brain cells in areas responsible for learning, memory, and decision making. This not only affects your ability to perform tasks effectively, but also weakens your self esteem, creating a cycle of doubt and avoidance. So, I really hope with that I have established the importance of developing self confidence. So, now let's talk about what are some ways that we can build self confidence. And I want to start with visiting the actual definition of it. Self confidence is the belief in your own abilities, skills, and judgment. It works as an assurance that you can handle challenges, make decisions, and succeed in different aspects of your life. With that, let's dive into how we can develop this skill. The first practical tip is practice. I know the word is a cliche, but when we practice and repeat something many times, it becomes second nature to us. You suddenly let go of any reservations you have about the ability and start seeing the task as a normal activity. When you practice, you train your brain to feel more comfortable with something you have never done before. Your brain learns to perceive the task not as a threat, but rather an activity you are constantly improving upon. Here's one of the biggest reasons why we lack confidence. Because when we try to attempt an activity we haven't done enough times, we do it very consciously. And anytime we do something with full awareness, we focus on multiple aspects of the task to make sure we execute it effectively. Think of learning to ride a bike. The first time you get on it, you think about the placement of your hands and your feet, keeping your eyes on the road and balancing yourself so you don't fall. But once you have practiced enough times, it becomes second nature to you. You'll hop on the bike and you'll just go for a ride without even thinking about it. And many of you, I promise, don't even bother keeping both hands on the handlebars. How do you go from being nervous to being extremely confident? Simply by practicing it enough times to disengage your conscious mind and internalize the activity so that it becomes part of you, not a threat. Anything you want to become more confident in can be achieved with enough repetition. Remember this: action changes the brain. The brain relies on neuroplasticity. It means the brain changes based on what you do to make stronger connections, helping you to become better at whatever it is that you're trying to excel in. All right. So, with that, let's move on to tip number 2, take risks. And I don't mean jumping off an airplane, though that wouldn't be a bad adventure if you want to explore. But taking risks is important because our mind is always trying to overprotect us from the world and from any perceived threats. Anything unfamiliar makes us shrink and become defensive. The amygdala, our brain's alarm system, it raises stress hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline to help us respond effectively to stress factors. In doing so, what it does is it shuts down many other functions in our body that aren't immediately relevant to survival, including the learning and memory process that take place in the hippocampus. But not every perceived threat is a real danger that we need to fear. When you take small risks that push you beyond your comfort zone, whether it's thinking on your feet, tackling something new, or embracing an unfamiliar challenge, you train your mind to experience a new reality, being spontaneous. When you become spontaneous, you take action regardless of the outcome and focus on the process instead. You engage your conscious mind with a purpose that opposes a stress response. The small risks that I'm referring to include talking to new people, learning a new skill, taking on new projects, or traveling to an unfamiliar place, speaking in front of an audience, even if it makes you nervous, standing up for your beliefs and making strong arguments to learn from it and grow, challenging the status quo to find better ways of doing things. If you take small risks like this, it will build confidence because you learn to stay composed when facing challenges. Instead of reacting with stress, you develop the courage to respond with clarity and confidence, and a courage that grows stronger each time you step outside your comfort zone. Moving on to our third point, learning through feedback. One of the strongest traits of confident people is that they don't take criticism as a setback. Rather, they see it as an opportunity for growth. They understand that there's no such thing as a perfect moment or a perfect way to do something. Instead of waiting for perfection, they take action and learn from the process. This mindset brings them closer to excellence without getting hung up on perfection. What I'm trying to say is, don't be afraid of criticism. You'll only receive criticism when you are actively doing something, and the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. In fact, criticism should be treated as free coaching advice that helps you improve and stay focused on your craft. Think about athletes. When they train, they receive criticism every single day, but they don't see it as negativity. They see it as coaching. The way you perceive feedback really matters. If you take it positively, you build confidence. If you take it as an offense, you start shrinking and doubting your abilities. Think about a top sprinter. You might only see them on the track for 30 seconds to a minute, but behind the scenes, they put in countless hours of training. They endure immense pressure from coaches, fans, and social media, especially on days when they don't perform well. But does that stop them? No, they keep pushing forward. So build a stronger mindset, accept feedback as a tool for growth, and keep working toward your goals. All right, so with that, let's move on to tip number 4. Be assertive. Confidence is not about being boastful. It's about being clear with your thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and boundaries without being aggressive or passive. If you're unable to express yourself assertively and with conviction, it may come across as if even you don't believe in your own ideas or your thoughts. And that's not how you want to present yourself to others. This often happens in professional settings where we may feel that we're not qualified enough to have a seat at the table or that our ideas aren't valuable enough to be shared. This is where I encourage you to take the risk. If you stop seeing mistakes as signs of failure and instead view them as part of the learning and growth process, I promise you, you'll become more confident in expressing yourself and your beliefs. I know at some point in life, we all fall victim to a psychological phenomenon known as the imposter syndrome, where individuals really start doubting their abilities and feel like frauds who will eventually be exposed despite all their qualifications and their success. In these moments, remind yourself that you didn't get to where you are by accident. Your hard work, perseverance, and belief in your abilities, especially during challenging times, are what brought you here. That same belief will help you strategize and move beyond from where you are today. Being assertive means clearly expressing your ideas and beliefs without hesitation. Strong leaders will always demonstrate this quality. There are moments when they may not feel entirely sure about their ideas, yet they still express them with clarity and conviction, just so that others can have faith and work together towards success. And don't confuse this with being fake. This is not about being fake. It's about believing in yourself and projecting that confidence through your communication so others can also place their trust in you. These four key factors, along with others, have helped me build confidence in life. The four factors that I just mentioned are practice, take risks, learn from feedback, and be assertive. When it comes to picking between two different individuals, a confident person is always a better choice than someone with more talent. The latter will constantly question their abilities and defeat themselves, even before facing others. Now, I understand that exuding confidence under pressure isn't easy, which is why we must work on our weaknesses when we are not under duress. There's absolutely no shortcut to building confidence. It comes from consistently practicing what you really want to master and pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone with a mindset of learning and growing rather than living with the fear of failure. I want to leave you with this famous quote from Michael Jordan, and I hope it inspires you to bring out the leader in you. And it goes like, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I have been trusted to take the game-winning shot and I missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. I hope you really think about this next time you have a self-doubt creeping inside you. With that, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode and learned something valuable. And if you did, then please rate the episode and leave a comment and share it with someone who can really benefit with this information.